Hey guys, Offline Gamer here. Today I am bringing you the 2014 Kennerspiel des Jahres winner, Istanbul, designed by Rudiger Dorn, published by Pegasus Games and released here in the United States by AEG Games. This is a medium worker placement game where you're taking a merchant and going around the marketplace to pick up some goods and to deliver goods to purchase rubies to a set limit before all the other players. Let's take a quick look at the components. I'll show you guys how the game plays, and then we'll come back here with my final thoughts. Alrighty guys, here you go. We have a 3-player game setup of Istanbul. Now in setting up the game, you're going to take a merchant, which is going to be like a little thicker disc, and 4 of the assistant discs, which are going to stack underneath it. So it's going to give you a little stack here of assistants. Set that on your fountain. Now if you look at the way I have the board set up here, this is actually set in what they call the easy game. They have like an easy, a medium, and a hard, because on the top left corners of the boards they actually have little numbers that you can actually either put them in numerical order, which changes the way the game, or you can actually set it up randomly where you mix and match how you put the tiles. The only restrictions is that you can't, the fountain has to be one of the 4 middle tiles, and the tea house and the black market cannot be too close to one another. So they have to be a certain amount of spaces away. So when you look at the setup, the way I set this up, you determine who the first player is, which is the blue player off to the right hand side there. He gets the first player token, which is this little token right over here, and 2 lira. A wheelbarrow with showing how much stuff they have in their wheelbarrow. The next player over, which is green, gets 3 lira, and then the last player, which is red, gets 4 lira. Everybody gets a bonus card that they get dealt at the beginning. That actually is something that you can use at any time in your turn, and it gives you different bonuses. What's really neat is they give you a really nice player aid with it that tells you what you can do in your turn, what the additional tokens are out on the board, and what each of the different individual bonus cards mean, which is really, really cool. Does help out the game. Don't have to break out the rule book as much because of that. So if you look at it, the way that it works is this is a modular board. You can see I'm moving that one piece here. So it does give you that ability to move this stuff around however you want. If you look at it, it is a 4x4 grid of what you do. So on your turn with your merchant, what you are going to do is you can either move 1 or 2 spaces adjacent to where you are. So no diagonal, so you can either go 1, 2, and you must drop an assistant. When you're looking at the rules, it will tell you that if you cannot drop an assistant because you do not have it, your turn ends immediately and you cannot perform the action that's on that space. Now, one of the advantages of that is that means either you're going to have to leave your guys around the board and backtrack the way you came in, or you want to make sure that your last move, when you just have your merchant, lands you on this fountain, which is the starting spot. The reason being is that is the only spot on the board that will let you do an action without having an assistant, because what it does is it recalls all your assistants back to the fountain. So it basically picks up all your assistants back to your merchant. Now in going over the board the way I have it laid out, you'll see there are a bunch of rubies down on the board. The whole goal of the game is to, in a more than 2-player game, so 3 to 5, be the first person to get 5 rubies in your wheelbarrow. If you're playing a 2-player game, you need to get 6 rubies in your barrel. So when you sit there and you look at it, is your whole goal is to go around this board, get these rubies. Now there's several ways of getting rubies. The 2 biggest ones, which I found is where most people are going to get them from, is either going to be the gemstone dealer or the Sultan's Palace. Now the gemstone dealer, you basically just trade lira for rubies. Simple as that. Starts off at a base price of 14 lira in a 3-player game. Once you get 4+, it starts at actually 12 lira. But once a person goes and purchases a ruby, it actually increases the cost of the next ruby by 1 lira. So it starts at 14, goes up to 15, then 16, 17, and so forth. The Sultan's Palace, however, instead of using lira to pay for your rubies, you are using goods. Now the goods initially start off with, you need a blue, a red, a green, and a yellow from your wheelbarrow, and one good of your choice. Now that is in a 3-player game. In a 4 or 5-player game, it actually starts out as one each of the different colored goods. Now, the question that a lot of you are going to have is, how do I pick up goods? So the way that you're going to pick up goods is, there are 3 warehouses on the board: the fabric, the spice, and the fruit warehouse, that basically when you go there maxes out that one color of good. So either red, yellow, or green will get maxed out. So what's kind of neat about this game is, at the beginning your wheelbarrow has this little hole that you guys see right here. That's because you can actually visit a spot on the board that you can purchase for 7 lira an expansion to your wheelbarrow. So now instead of 2 goods, you can carry 3 goods. You go back a second time, you can now carry 4 goods, and then you go back a 5th time, you sit there, or a 3rd time, you end up getting that you can carry now 5 goods. The great thing about that spot there, which is the Wainwright, is once you've maxed out your wheelbarrow, the next time you go there and spend the 7 lira, instead of getting another piece of wheelbarrow, you actually pick up a ruby. So that's another way of doing it. When you look at it, you spend some money and do it. Now, the last spot on the board where you can pick up some rupees is going to be the mosques. You have a small mosque and a great mosque. Now on these mosques are tiles that you can pick up. Now you can only pick up 1 of each of the different colored tiles per player. It actually lets you kind of alter the rules a bit of the game. Gives you little bonuses. So the blue tile right here, when you purchase it, it has 2 little blues on top, but 1 has a red arrow on it. Means you basically have to have 2 blue things, so 2 jewelry to show. You have to pay with 1, and then you get an additional assistant, which is why they're sitting off to the side of the board here. The yellow one basically lets you pay 2 lira, and you can recall an assistant. The red one at the small mosque lets you, at the tea house, which I'll explain later what the tea house does, either change one of the face of the die to a number 4 or re-roll your dice. And the last one is, when you go to a warehouse, you can pay 2 lira to get 1 good of your choice. So not only do you max out 1 good, you can get another good of your choice for 2 lira. Now, going along here, you do have marketplaces. So there's a small market and a large market, another good place to make money in the game. They will have these little tiles that you'll shuffle up and you'll stack them up. And what these little tiles have is a demand on them. The demand is basically going to be a certain color of certain goods. And when you look at the actual tile, it'll tell you if you can sell 1 good, you'll get a certain amount of lira. So on the large market, you sell 1 good, you get 3 lira, 2 goods 7, 3 goods 12, 4 goods 18, and 5 goods 25. Now, the small market will have a lot of the easier goods, the yellow, the green, and the red, to be able to sell. Whereas your large market's going to have more of the blues, which is the harder commodity to come by. Now, there are only 2 places on the board where you can pick up blue goods. One is the black market. The black market, when you go there, you pick a red, a green, or a yellow good, and then you roll 2 dice. The result of that dice will determine whether you pick up a blue good or not, and how many of those blue goods you pick up at that time. So if you roll a 7 or an 8, you pick up 1 good. If you roll a 9 or a 10, you pick up 2 goods. 2 blue goods, and if you roll an 11 or 12, you get 3 blue goods. The other place where you can get a blue good is at the post office. The post office starts off where it'll have 4 of the little 8 squares exposed. 4 other ones are covered. The first time that somebody goes to the post office, it will slide the cube down, and then it starts changing what starts popping out as you start getting it. So the more people visit the post office, the better you get. Up until that 4th person gets it, where you have the 4 cubes all down, you'll get 4 lira, a blue and a red, and then it resets back to what it was like in the beginning. Now, when I was going over the player boards here, I talked about how we had a family members, a governor, and a smuggler. The governor is the little purple column here, what that actually does is you will roll dice, set them out on the board. When somebody gets there, the person has the choice of activating the governor, which what that lets you do is you can take one bonus card and then either discard one bonus card out of your hand or pay 2 lira to keep it. Once you do that, roll the dice, move him to another spot on the board, and then you play continues. The smuggler, which is the purple column, again, similar to the governor, when you get there, you can actually take one good of your choice, but you have to either give back one good of a different color, or you pay 2 lira. And then, same as the governor, roll 2 dice and you move them on the other thing. Now, the only other kind of things that they have in the game here, the Carnivassery, what it basically lets you do is you pick up 2 bonus cards from the stack. You look at them with any bonus cards you may have in your hand, and then you put back 1 bonus card. So you can actually change around what you actually have in your hand if you don't like the bonus card that you were dealt. So it's a good way to actually get little boosts that you can get into the game. And the next to last spot I'm going to talk about is the police station. The police station, if you notice, there's some columns of the same colors of players sitting there. That is what's called a family member who's stuck in jail. We don't know what that family member did, but he happens to be in jail. So what you need to do is you go there, you leave one of your assistants, and the moment you leave an assistant, you activate this, you spring your family member out of jail, and you get to move him to any spot on the board. Now, what's really neat about having the family member do things, one of the rules of the game is that when you're on a spot or when you go to a spot, if another merchant is there, except for the fountain, to be able to perform that action, you must pay 2 lira to that merchant. Now, the great thing about the family member is when you move him onto that spot on the board, you do not need to pay the 2 lira if another person is there. So it's a great way that if a player goes to the spot where you want to go to and you don't want to pay him the 2 lira, but you're close enough to the police station, hey, go to the police station, send your family member there, boom, you're all set. And the last place, which is another way you can make money in the game, is the tea house. The tea house is very simple. You land on the spot, you say a number from 3 to 12, and you roll 2 dice. If the number that comes out on the dice is equal to or greater than what you said, you get the number that you said in lira. And if you don't, if it's less than the number that you said, you basically get 2 lira. So it's a spot that no matter what, when you sit there and you go there, you're not going to not get any money. You will still get some money for going to that spot, which is pretty good. Other than that, basically players will take their turns. One person will move, drop an assistant, do their turn, do their action, next player goes, and so on and so forth until the first player reaches the 5 rubies. And there you have Istanbul. Getting thoughts from me was I really enjoyed the game because it gives you that sense of a traditional Euro worker placement where you're going around activating tiles and all that, but it does it differently enough where you have to move your merchant with the assistants over to perform those actions. I love the player interaction where to do a tile that another player's already on, you have to pay them money to do it. It's interesting the way that they set it up for a 2-player game where you have the NPC merchants that are just sitting around. You pay 2 lira to the bank and then move them to a different spot. I thought is really cool because it does change your strategy as far as where do you want to go. Because if you don't have enough money to be able to pay them, you can't go to those spots. So I like how they did the interaction with the players and all that. There is an interesting, and I forgot to mention in the components, a variation in the game where instead of having your 4th assistant, you get the white player's tokens, and you substitute them for your 4th assistant. And what you actually do is the white assistants can actually be picked up by anybody. So it's not just your assistant that you can use, which is really great because it'll make you change your path that you're going. I love the fact that you can randomize the way that the whole board gets laid out every time that you're playing the game. And you can actually, the rules where they have set for it where the the fountain has to be one of the 4 inner tiles, and the tea house and black market have to be at least 4 spaces away from one another. Add a ton of replayability to this game, so you can either go by the set numbers or just do it random every single time, so it changes the game every single time. So because of that, I find it's going to sit on my shelf to be played for quite some time. My wife loves the game, although she did tell me after our first time that we played that her brain hurt with how much thinking she had to do because she had to plan out her moves ahead of time and everything. But all in all, it's been a hit all the way around here. Definitely, if you're on the fence about buying this, really give this a look. Hopefully, you'll be able to make a decision based on my review here on whether you want to get it. But, I mean, if you ask me personally, it is a definite buy. There is plans on them, has been confirmed on Board Game Geek, that they are going to come out with expansions for it. So who knows where this can go. Expansions are always good in games because it will add more replayability in my book. So for me, definite thumbs up, definitely a buy. If you like this video, guys, go ahead and subscribe, comment, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate the feedback. Until next time, guys, get out there and game. Take care.